Whoosh! Hey! Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jade Monkey. We're back here in Rust. We're talking about the Rust Console Edition and building a starter 2x2, which is the staple of just about every wipe. If you're a solo, duo, trio, you name it, this can be the basis for many different types of builds, or this can be a satellite base or a standalone. It's meant to be modular, and you can update it in many different ways. So let's do it. Okay, so I do have admin here, so we're able to like fly around and stuff. We have super stack of items. And please note that this, if you actually want to find more detailed information about building, which is totally awesome, if you do, I do have a building starter guide or a building basics guide. I'll go ahead and link that now in the upper right-hand corner. It's going to help you with all kinds of ins and outs, from the tool cupboards to soft side, hard side, all that good stuff. So check it out. We're going to try to move fast here, as these do take a bit of time. So I want to make sure that we're thorough with this. Okay, so the 2x2. Let me go ahead and I can see I've got flying abilities. I told you, so this is for the Rust Console Edition. The Rust beta is currently going on. It is under NDA, so clearly we're on the PC for now, but this will pertain to the full release later on, spring 2021. And this is how it looks from the top down. Let me get rid of that toolbar for you. So you've got all kinds of room, some different expansion options here. This little window slash furnace room, but it does require BP. We'll go over it. So yes, just note that you'll probably need a good amount of supplies for this. I'm going to try to do it in small chunks, and we're going to try to do it on uneven terrain. So here we go. Okay, so right away, obviously you need your building plans and your hammer. I would advise, if you can, with a stash or even a box in a bush, and kind of stow away some of your items the best you can. I'm going to build this as if you were being attacked a lot. So we have uneven ground here, which is usually the case for most things. So since this footprint is, I'm going to go ahead and fly here, is 2x2 with the triangle honeycomb that sticks out on the side, you need to make sure that it's at least 2 triangles by 2 squares on either direction. So if you've got a uneven hill like this, you're going to have a pretty tall foundation, which isn't the best, but in some cases you got to do with what you make do with what you got. All right, so I think this might be the flattest area. I'm kind of feeling out the area. All right, so it needs to be the same height, so we're just going to sketch this out real quick to make sure we have enough room, because nothing stinks worse than passing your cementing phase and having to raid your own base. All right, so I have the ability to do that. Normally I would use the bow and arrow since I don't have a tool cupboard down. So it looks like we have enough room, which is great. Okay, that's fine. We're going to start with just the 1x2. I'm going to go ahead and put our tool cupboard here in the back corner. I do like to put up twig first, and again, you're going to be holding secondary option on your building plans like so, and then selecting a doorway, and then we're going to upgrade all of this to stone. I'm assuming that you do have enough materials for stone. If you don't, you can make these wood for now. And we are going to place, we're going to also assume you don't have a furnace yet, a door here, and then a wooden door lock. If we can swap it around. Wooden door lock. There we go, and hold action and make sure the door is locked. Okay, with the building plans out yet again, we are going to place a wall frame by holding secondary fire and then selecting wall frame. Going to hammer, holding secondary fire on the hammer, and then selecting wood, as it could be a bit easier for us to place things as far as boxes. Now, it is important to know that, again, this is meant to be upgraded and meant to be modular. You have to build things in small bites as you need them. I cannot express that enough. This game is very much about the right thing at the right time. So just know that, I mean, you know that doesn't look like this yet, but we are doing a 1x2 because that's the cheapest when you first get started, because you need a place to drop off your loot. So, and again, if I'm moving fast, we have that building beginner's guide and stuff to help you out. So hopefully I'm not going too slow and I'm not going too fast. All right, so assuming you already have your tool cupboard crafted, we're going to go ahead and place it in the corner, back up against that wall with the knobs facing towards you. Place a lock always, and now we're going to hold and make sure that that is on lock. And then we're going to place a few core supplies. Again, you wouldn't have these crazy big stacks because they only stack to 100, or I'm sorry, 1,000. And just because I'm admin, I can do that there. So we're just filling up the tool cupboard just to make sure you've got some goodies. Now we're going to bring back the building plans, and we're going to put a roof on top of this real quick, and then we're going to create a shelf to the interior. This should look very familiar. We've done a lot of builds like this. As a matter of fact, we should link one of the builds now. We have a 1x2. I'll go ahead and link that now in the upper right-hand corner. So if you're really getting started and you want to be small or have a small footprint or even have a satellite base for farming and stuff, it's really good for that. And if you'll notice that the 1x2 also looks very similar to this. It's the foundational piece. Now, right now we don't have an airlock, so I think it's really important to put up a double door. And assuming that you don't have a furnace yet, you're going to want to make a double door that opens towards you so it covers this door to prevent people from coming in. Now we're going to place a wooden lock on there. And again, we'll replace all these in the future here as soon as we can afford it. This way, this door is closed and people can't rush you. And if they do, at least you've got some protection. But you are still open to yoke raids. So real quick on the exterior, on the wall we would like to place, let me just double check inside here real quick. All right, so we're going to place our triangle shelf here on this wall. Let me go ahead and throw this on the ground and throw this right here. There you go, on this wall. I'm going to go back outside. And we're going to place triangle foundation. Whoops, the tool cupboard's right there. So we're going to place a half wall and then a floor triangle on top of that. So now, again, it's created a socket for us to place the wall, or a socket for us to place the triangle across inside of this wall here, as it's the same room or the same square as the tool cupboard itself. Close this, open this, and place in the socket. There we go, we got it blue. Now, assuming that you have enough stone, we're going to make that stone. If you don't, you can always make that wood. All right, so right away, you're going to place some of these guys down here to put some of your supplies down. You're actually going to craft a few of these, and they're what, 150? I never remember what these are. 100. I always get that off. All right, so you place a couple things in there. Then, if you have enough materials to keep going on the exterior, I would suggest you do so. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's assume that you did get enough to craft a furnace. Let's go ahead and place, oops, you know what, I placed these in the wrong place. So we're going to pick these up. I should probably just destroy them. And then we're going to place down one of our furnaces here. And then let's say you're cooking some of your raw materials while we're outside. Okay, great. And if you didn't know, this is 200 stone, 100 wood, and 50 low grade. All right, so going back outside with as few supplies as possible to finish this other exterior, you can now, with your building plans and your hammer out, and a few of your wood stacks and your stone stacks, on your building plans, you're going to right attack hold, or I'm sorry, secondary attack hold to a square, and this is going to complete your 2x2 square inner core. And again, let me go ahead and detach and then fly over here real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. The 2x2 square represents the 2x2 quote-unquote footprint. Okay, back here and reattach. Now we're going to upgrade this with a hammer, holding secondary fire, and then selecting stone. And then right here with the building plans, we're going to secondary fire hold to the walls, making sure that the X's are facing you. That is the soft side. And right here, I think, is where the X is going to be. And again, you can really mold this any way you would like to really kind of bend things and you know, add things that you need at the time. But we're going to go ahead and add the 2 additional squares now, this square and this square, obviously. But if somehow we were to get rushed right now, we would still be okay. We could even place up one of these double doors and, you know, and one of these wood locks, and we'd be all right. Because then, what are they going to do? Jump over the wall and attack us? You know, then we could place something like this on top. Then it really holds them back. Now, also assuming that this furnace on the interior has been smelting or making metal fragments, or if you've been getting metal fragments by scrapping, or I'm sorry, not by scrapping, but by recycling, you'll be able to make a metal double door. And if you have teammates, at this point, it's a good time to replace one of your exterior locks with a code lock. But let's go ahead and swap this over. I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to make this metal and then put the mallet down, the hammer. Oh my goodness, I just put that up. We're going to put this back. There we go. And now we're going to put on a metal code lock, which again is 100 metal fragments under construction. You can see why this furnace is so important if you're smelting some of that stuff. So we're going to place one of those there. We're just going to call this 111. Don't ever make your code that. It's super bad. But see, now that we have at least one metal door, we're going to stop all yoke and flame raids. Now, before we do this, I forgot to upgrade this frame very slowly. If I can get in there with my hammer out. Oh, this is a good lesson. All right, so if sometimes you can't reach that, if you hold action, unlock, action again, pick up, open door, pick up, you can now select this to stone. Remember, once things are past the cementing phase, you cannot destroy them, and you cannot rotate them. The only time you can rotate things is before the cementing phase, and also if you've just upgraded something, so you have to be very deliberate with what you're doing. So we've got that back to stone. Let's go ahead and bust out this code lock. So real quick, I typically, even though the wooden door is on the exterior, just if you've got teammates, you always want to have one person dedicated to opening the door for you until you can start to replace your locks with this. Even if you can't afford to replace the door, it's good to have this at least on your first airlock, so your teammates at least have a place to run into and close the door if they're getting chased with a bunch of loot. Like, let's say they were farming, and then they come running up on the base. They need a place to, like, go, and then close the door. So, just, you know. So we're going to go ahead and replace this with a metal sheet door, and a metal sheet door is 150 metal fragments right there. Go ahead and place the door here, code lock here. So now we're doubly protected on the interior here. Beautiful. Now, let's go ahead and finish the rest of this exterior. I bring our building plans out yet again. And what we're going to do is create a triangle foundation here, which is eventually going to be the honeycomb. But we're going to create an exit or a single pass through the triangle or the honeycomb itself. So putting one of these door frames up, again, with the X's facing towards you. Then upgrading this with the hammer, secondary fire hold. And then secondary fire hold, and then make sure you get the building plans out for another door frame, then another wall itself, and then hammer out, secondary fire hold, upgrade, upgrade. Now, let's go ahead and fly up so you can see this. Now it's become, actually we can delete the rooftops, we'll add more here in a sec. But now you can see how many different doors it takes to get on the interior. Right? You've got 1, 2, let's go ahead and make this one metal. There's a reason why you create a lot of different doors and such all the way through, because doors are always the softest way in, right? So if you can create a lot of different airlocks, not only to protect yourself from going in and out, but it adds more layers of protection for the base itself. And it brings up another good point of why you would want to make honeycomb as well. Let's go ahead and put on some code locks here. And again, this creates that single pass-through, so people can't walk through if somehow you get shot right here in the airlock. And it's a nice thing for all players involved. So you can see that it would take 1 door, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sheet metal doors, which is 20 satchels to get in. Now, that's just sheet metal doors. Now, double doors are the same as single doors. And again, I've got a rating guide that goes over this stuff. I'll go ahead and link that now in the upper right-hand corner. It'll go over the finer points of that. But if that takes, 20 satchels to get all the way through the doors, but you're probably asking yourself, well, how much does it cost to go through a stone wall? It costs you 10. So that's why you would do something like this as soon as you can afford it. Instead of your top ceilings just being stone, you would make them metal. Or, if you can't afford the metal yet, because it's still pretty early game, you can create another layer of honeycomb on top that does just that. Not only does it stop splash damage from rockets, it's going to add another layer of protection. And since one entire ceiling or wall is 10 satchels, that is now 20 satchels to get in. Let me go ahead and, I mean, that's an option too, to go metal, but I just want to show you that that's a thing. So now with just stone that you had and a little bit of extra, you're now looking at 20 satchels no matter what direction you're going in. Well, if you're going from the top, and you're probably asking yourself, hey Jade, that's cool, but what about the side? Well, we do the same thing, but we do it with triangles. Oops, let's go ahead and get rid of this. We would do the same here. I think obviously you wouldn't have the ability to fly around like that. So, but like right here, we create another wall, make sure it's in. Well, here, we'll place this one in correctly so you can see what we're talking about. Whoops. Let's do the ceiling first. You can see how And since we haven't cemented yet, it hasn't been like 5 minutes since we placed that, we can now hold the action button on the hammer and then rotate it. But if you look back here, now we've got one wall and then 2 walls, and then you're on the interior. That's another 20. So you can see if you create honeycomb on the top and bottom and on the sides, you can create a 20 satchel raid no matter what. And for this size, it keeps a lot of people off your back. Let me go ahead and show you the cutaway. I made one over here earlier. This would be the cutaway of the base itself. So if you came from this side, 10, this side 10 to get in, so that's 20. Same thing with the top here. If you come into the top, there's 1, and there's 20. And that's the other thing. If you're doing splash, like rockets, this is the only thing that have splash damage, really. That's another reason why you would create this little pocket of honeycomb here, that it prevents that. Or what you could do, if you really want to get crazy with it, you can then make your interior metal sheet, which is 23 satchels to bust through. And it does 2 things. Look, you have no idea if you're on this side how expensive, how expensive this raid is. Right? You think it's all stone, but really you break through your first wall and you're like, oh, that's 23. So you just spent 10 satchels and now you have to spend an additional 23 to hope that you get the right room. So really it deters people from getting in. And for its size and like what it is and what it's protecting, it's very fortified. Unless you really tick off some big Zerg, you should be okay with this configuration. So I just wanted you to kind of take that in right there. A lot of different ways to do this. And again, you wouldn't do this until you can start to afford it. But I don't like to make sheet metal on the exterior, because nothing says I got rust money like having some sheets of metal pinned up on the side of your base. And you kind of know where to hit. And you know maybe roughly where the honeycomb's at. I would be like, okay, that's all sandwich hat for the top. That's all sandwich filler for the side. This is the beef we want to hit. So I don't typically upgrade those until we've got honeycomb on the side to hide those areas. Alright, so let's go ahead and finish out the interior and show you what some of the deployables will look like. I know this is a bit out of order, the way we do most of these, but I wanted to make sure we get this out there because this is such a big part of how you get started. And again, this could be the starter base that you smelt, and then you're going to do a bigger compound. This could be a base that you can add to later. This could be the base you start with and make modifications to. And we'll go over some of those modifications in a bit, but like, you know, you can make a jump up to the secondary floor, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so let's get back here. And let's finish our exterior real quick. Again, triangles on the side. And you can see how the elevation should be. Whoopsie. That's a lot. I'm going to go ahead and slap this on here quickly. Yeah, it's so important to know how raiding is done because you really build to prevent it. And because of that, it's good to know what that is and also how to build itself. But don't worry. So like this is another thing why we're finishing this up here. If you get raided in this game, it's actually a good thing because you learn so much from each time you get raided. And I would strongly suggest, I mean after the initial anger passes, to go back is if you can and try to dissect what happened. You know, a lot of times you can see, okay, they had this much money and they ran out, you know, of explosives or whatever. And because of that, you can be like, okay, if you're planning on doing a counterattack on them, you can really say, okay, it looks like they blew their entire payload on my base, or they finished out their payload. So, you know, if we go back or strike quickly, we could potentially, you know, catch them off guard. So I'm adding the honeycomb here. So what I'm saying is, go through the base, try to dissect. Remember, satchels, C4, they're very deliberate charges. They don't do splash damage. So you won't see any damage on the surrounding areas. And if they griefed your base, see how they did it. Did they get all the way in? A lot of times they'll raid to your tool cupboard, but they won't have the rest of the base taken over. Like the door locks and stuff are still yours, even though they may have taken over the base. So sometimes you can get some of your loot back, and sometimes you can get the whole base back pretty easily. So it's always worth it to go back and see. And even if they've totally shut you out, it's good to know how you got defeated so you can build for it better next time. You know what I mean? It makes a big difference, I think. So after we finish our honeycomb here, we're going to go back inside and do our deployables and kind of show you how that would work. There you go. It's a basic setup for a 2x2 with honeycomb. Oops, we've got one right here. And again, always making sure hard sides out when you're outside and soft sides in when you're on the inside. Rotate that. Yeah, the only reason I'm flying around and stuff is because these usually take a hot minute. And just remember, if you wanted to like add an extra, you know, jump up or something, this is a good place to start, and then you can kind of build up from there. But we'll get to that in a second. Let me go ahead and walk inside and show you what this looks like. So then you'd be placing things like boxes, larger boxes. And again, you can fit these in tighter if you like. I'm kind of a big fan, since there's going to be a lot of changes in the beginning, to really kind of throw down the big boys and kind of just shuffle around when you need to. And if you're lucky enough to get one of these during the wipe, or learn it, or both, make sure you're upgrading to garage doors. Garage doors are great. They're the ones you'll have most of the time, but their downfall is, well, they cost gears, but they also, oh my goodness, well, I guess that's fine. They also open very slowly, so you don't ever really want to have a garage door on your exterior if you can help it, if you plan on going in and out of there, because it's so easy for somebody to clap you and then get up under the door before it completely closes. But it's really good for the interior. This is 9 satchels to break through. That's just one off of a wall. And it's also really great for quality of life. As you can see, we can jump up in here much more freely, place things with ease. I like to kind of jam a few things in here, and then we kind of get to it as we get to it. What I like to do as we're going through or progressing through the wipe, I like to start with my level 1 workbench here. Put another one of these in the corner, which should look pretty familiar by now, especially if you've seen a couple of the other builds. And then try to place, let me close this garage door. It's always good if you're trying to jam a bunch of boxes on the floor to have the garage door already placed. But just be advised, some deployables you can't pick back up. And if you place something that overlaps the garage door, is fine. But if somebody raids it, then you've kind of blocked your own wall frame that you can't really build into later. And then that's pretty good to get you started. I would avoid putting code locks on boxes, like really. It's kind of a waste. Then you would create more reach in room here, and then usually you would have enough for a level 2. You can either destroy the one in the other room or pick it up, or you can kind of build here. And if you build it tight enough, like so, you should be able to walk across these like this. And then if you've got a little gap on the floor like that, then I like to put this on the floor. Because loot, that's why. There we go. Look at that. It's a loot carpet. Then let me go ahead and throw this out. Since I'm admin, I can spawn things in. Let me show you one of these. I'm a big fan of doing this too. You'll find these all the time in the wild, the rugs. Did I actually click it in? I think I did. Okay, let me try that again. Boop. Rugs. Oh, I guess I did. I just didn't see it. Stick them on the ceiling, because it's out of the way. But since now, look, since we're standing on the box anyways, look at my comfort levels going up. So if you eat one piece of food, the comfort level will increase and also recharge or regen your health much faster. Very useful. And then if you have another one, you can just throw it over here. And then if you have a furnace lid, it's even more comfort. It's gains all around. Then up here, you can place more furnaces if you want to. And then as your wipe progresses, and you can create like drop boxes and such. You're going to upgrade this to a garage door. But you can see how, like, if you were to sign out like this, people are going to have to spend some money. Like, they'd have to know it's either worthwhile or they really hate your guts to do it. Let me show you what this looks like if you place a box here real quick. And again, there's so many different ways to make variants on this, and I strongly suggest that you do that because it's so necessary. See how that's like right there? Obviously, somebody can loot that. But see, if you were to destroy this, see how I can't place? I have to literally pick up the box or destroy it to replace. Just something to keep in mind. If you can't pick something up again easily, like a workbench, it can become a massive problem later if somebody were to raid that. So, you know, things to keep in mind. It's the beauty of Rust. There's so many different ins and outs. All right, so now let's say we wanted to do an expansion in the front, or even a jump up to the second story. We want to go up now. Or you can keep building on the outside of the base. It's entirely up to you. And we should probably wrap this one up. I know this is probably getting pretty long. But what you can do here is this kind of creates a pathway for you to go here. And again, I'm just kind of loosey-goosey doing this. You could either create yourself a doorway here. To leave the base, this would have more visible spots for you. Let's see, I'm going to spawn this in. Sorry, I usually have these on ahead of time. The shop fronts. And again, if it's just like doors, if you look left or right, it'll determine if it's the interior or exterior. So then right there, as you kind of walk through, you can see that you can see out left and right, which double barrel naked men outside your base is a thing. It always is. Door camping was invented in Rust. So that's kind of a nice way to do that. Now, what you could do here is create a jump up if you wanted to. The secondary floor. This could be a bit tricky, or you can place a ladder here. Let's go ahead and do that for now. But or you could do a ladder hatch. But you can do things to like jump up to make your way upstairs. Or if we were to expand this other side here, we could do kind of like a little bit more storage or drop-off space, and then create a jump-up area for the base. So like here, and then we create something like this. And then I'm just kind of going loosey-goosey on this one. But again, like I'm saying, there's so many different ways you can do that. Just always keep in mind how many satchels it's going to take to get into your core. Whoops. Or if they're going wall raids, or if they're going to go door raid, try to keep them guessing and try to make it as expensive as possible. Nothing is totally unraidable, but the best you can do is make it not desirable. See, like right here, we could create a jump up, and then you'd have to. Oop. Okay, so this is a good example. See how this is kind of getting stuck? Just place some twig right here, then go back to this, and then bust out the hammer, and then delete it that way. It's nice. Then put a little lid on there, a little hat. I like to put a frame. And for exterior doors, I like to put swing doors. I'm a big fan. So some of the leftover double doors that you might have taken off, it's a good time to use it. And even if it's wooden, as long as you have protection on the interior, it's going to help. So right there, you've got room to expand that, and you've got this drop-off point. Maybe you put more of these here, some boxes. Just going loosey-goosey with it here. You know, you wouldn't keep anything super important, but people that are farming could come in here pretty easily and drop stuff off for you, and it would make it good. You could even do something like this if you wanted to. Again, I don't know if this is the best config, but it'll work. This is going to be such a hard jump now. This is a bad example. Okay, we're not going on the roof now. I'm just going to jump through there, but you get the idea. It's expandable the way you need to. I would always recommend that you think about how you're going to build. If you're unsure, do it in twig. Have some bows and arrows so you can go outside and manage it. Kind of see what it looks like. But again, don't build too much of the twig, because then people will have an idea of what you're planning on building. Or they'll just go and shoot at it and make it really difficult for you. I'm having this open towards the door, so technically nobody can leave that open and then loot your stuff. Kind of keeps it nice and fresh. So there you go. That is the 2x2, a starter base for all kinds of players where they're just getting started, solo, duo, trio, and it's very much expandable. And it's, I think, one of the more fortified things that you can do when you're getting started on a wipe or a server. So hopefully you found this useful and helpful. If you did, be sure to drop a like. And if you like to, drop a subscribe and turn on those notifications. We'll be doing all kinds of videos as we do, and also live streaming this whenever we can, as soon as we can, over on the beta, as soon as the NDA is lifted, and obviously during the full release, which should be later on this year, spring 2021. So yeah, love you. We'll see you in the next video / live stream. Bye!